I've been experimenting with Tyvek, which is a type of material that when you add heat to it, it melts and creates all these gorgeous patterns. And I'm looking at creating a landscape or a seascape quite soon, so I've been doing a few experiments just to see what will happen. And I've also got some Kozo paper which I have embroidered onto this and then melted it. So I'm now going to add some paint effects with acrylic paints just to see what they do. Here's one that I have just painted. I've painted it on the front and also on the back just to see what it does. I'm waiting for that to dry and I'm going to add some more layers of colour. But I'm loving this texture that I'm getting. It's just absolutely fab. I embroidered this first with some hand stitching, which have kind of disappeared in the machine stitching. But I'm going to add probably some oil pastel and skim some more acrylic over it. So we'll see whether that picks up. But I've been having lots and lots of fun. So let's see what happens when we put acrylic paint on top of the Tyvek and the Kozo silk paper. Just doing the first layer at the moment. And kind of looking at sea at the moment, so I'm just picking some random sea colours. I'll add some white into this later on once it's dried to see if we can get an idea of the foam on the edge of the sea where the waves break, because it really lends itself to that. And it's quite nice with the fabric of the paper. And what's quite nice is when it's wet, I can actually just move this about a bit with my fingers, lift a little bit of the paint off so it's not quite so uniform. Oh, it's starting to rip up. I actually over ironed that bit, which is why it's disappeared so much. It's quite nice, it comes through on the back a little bit as well. So I'm just going to wait for that to dry and then I'll add some more things onto it with my little experiments. And this one's got paper all over, so I don't know the silk paper all over, so we'll just see what how this one reacts. Maybe do a slightly lighter colour this time. I think this might not see much of the Tyvek underneath, but it's all good fun experimenting. It gives a different texture. Again, with this one I've done some machine embroidery on it first, so I held the paper down with machine embroidery, and I left the ends of the stitching so that they would just kind of form a ragged, organic feel to it, which really mimics the paper. So it's looking quite nice. We'll see what it's like when it's dried. Really nice textures. It's quite nice. It's going underneath a little bit to the Tyvek. We could actually distress this a bit more and maybe pull some bits off. And what I'm going to do with this one, I'm also going to paint the back of this one just to see what it's like at the back with some paint on it as well. And this then would just be straight onto the Tyvek and not onto the paper. So it should have a different effect. So I'm just giving it an all over coat at the moment. You can see if I just skimmed it, how I would have the white showing through. But what I want to do is put a base colour on first and then skim another colour over the top, because I don't really want the white. I want this greeny colour to show through rather than the white to show through. So I'm going to do this in stages. Just paint. You can see I'm being quite rough. I've got an old paintbrush here, not using anything new, because they take a little bit of a bashing when you're doing work like this. And I'm just going to maybe put a little bit of more paint underneath this. I'll just leave that to dry. Just maybe skim that a little bit. Another one done. It's quite interesting with the silk paper on top. Get a real effect of kind of like sea foam and bits, you know, seaweed and things on the sea. That one's drying quite nicely now. So quite looking forward to just playing about with these for a bit longer. So that's my 3 that I've done so far. And this is now beginning to dry. It's still quite wet on the back, so I need to leave that a little bit longer before I skim some colour over it. I could probably skim a little bit of colour over this now to see what happens. So I'm just going to use my fingers with some white paint and just skim over the top. Oh, this would be lovely for pebbles as well. Look at that. In fact, what I'll do is I'll put another sheet of white paper so you can see it a bit better. So I know I've just painted over the white, but it's nice now with the white skimming over because we get that darker effect and it really brings out the textures of the Tyvek. And just to, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to skim over, let's see what colour, maybe skim over this rusty oil pastel just to experiment, just to see what it does. And that's quite nice, it's picking up on the stitching a little bit. That's quite a nice effect as well. Almost like snake skin, look, like a reptile skin. Just add a little bit more on. Maybe get a bit of blue going in here as well. I think I prefer the way, I don't know, oil pastel's working okay, but I think no, it is actually quite nice. It would be quite nice skimming some bronze or something like that over this as well to get that metallic feel to it. I'll maybe dig some of those out soon and try that as well. Quite nice. Quite nice effect with the oil pastel there. And that's it with the white paint skimmed over. So I've kind of lost my stitches a little bit. What I'll do is, you have got texture when you see it close up, but I'll probably add some more stitching into this once it's dried. That's quite nice. We'll wait for that to dry before I do anything else to it. And this one's nearly dry, so I'm going to try now, maybe with a brush, just putting a bit of white over it, just to see if we can get that effect of the beach and the waves breaking over this. Oh, that's lovely. So it's just skimming it over the Tyvek rather than the paper below much. I should have washed my brush out because it's not really pure white, but that doesn't matter. Little bits on there as well. Pick those up in white. Probably doesn't help that I'm doing this against a white piece of paper, does it? You can't see it very well. Let's see, oops. Lovely. It's looking fab, isn't it? Be really nice to see how these are when they're dried and stitch into them as well. Because I've got some dark paper, you know, if that was put onto another fabric, you get that lovely effect showing through. It's looking good. And let's just see what this one, I think this one's still a bit too wet, but you know, I'll just go for it and add a bit of white on and just see. It might just blend in. So I'm just going to dab it on so it's not got too much chance to blend. So this time I'm on the silk paper. rather than on the Tyvek. So it's really picking up a different type of pattern, and it's picking up all the hairy bits where I stitched it. But it's still a bit wet, so I can blend it in a little bit. So it's kind of looking quite old and distressed, which is really rather nice. Yeah, so that's just a few little experiments I've been doing with Tyvek, with melting, and this is really concentrating on the paint effects. And oh, I should maybe put them this way around so you can see them better. There we are. So yeah, having great fun.